talking, help me. Help me. Help. Somebody help me.
Hey. Somebody please help me.
What you should do? I'm already crying.
Help.
Mahlatse, stop. Stop.
Your tears. Help.
Okay, I'm ready. No, I'm not, but I'm ready.
Ready when you are. 3, 2, 1.
Chilling with an idiot right now. Just chilling with the freaking idiot. Hi guys, welcome to. Oh, is your phone off? I thought I heard something ring.
Siak.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to ADN Lifestyle with Sanati, brought to you by Audionomics Entertainment. I'll say this now so that I don't say it later. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We need those subscribers. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm good. So I'm chilling with Mahlatse Mothiba. Waving.
Hey, basenzi bampone yo. Imagine uku Mahlatse Mothiba and I'm just
Okay, chilling with Mahlatse Mothiba. This episode is quite. I don't know.
Let's jump in.
Yeah, we just have to jump in.
Let's just jump.
Let's just jump in. It's Lupus Awareness Month. Most of you don't even know what lupus is, and this is why we have Mahlatse on the show today to explore and go into that. But yeah, before we get into all of that, who's Mahlatse? Where's she from? Let the people know who you are. Are you single? You looking?
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Hi everyone. Mahlatse Mothiba from Polokwane, originally 26.
Yeah, 26. Yeah, Oscar gets a dilemma.
Ne ke tlo fokotsa ke re
No.
No, I'm 21 with 5 years experience actually.
Yeah.
Originally from Polokwane, moved to Pretoria in 2011, away from my parents to come for school, and then I've just, this is now my home.
Pretoria is home. How's Pretoria treating you?
So, ho nice jwang?
King in Isimo, Mapara.
No.
Did you guys know her another voice again?
Pitora re jola ho tshedi Pitora guys. So
What's wrong? Hwa nyalwa?
Wena Pitori. Mahlanyeng. No. Yeah. Danko. Yeah, man.
Pretoria, what do you do for a living? I know you're a stripper, but
Yo, bathong. Also ntsha diphiri tsa ka katla. What do I do for a living? I'm a part-time student. I am a full-time house executive.
ooh,
I'm a housewife without the wife
title.
or the girlfriend title. And I am a social advocate for lupus, chronic illnesses, and disabilities.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Part-time student. Obalang.
Ke bala BCom International Accounting.
Yo, numbers.
Le nna I'm just here.
You're just doing it.
Yeah, we'll see.
If the numbers are numbering.
We'll see. We'll see. Something will give at some point.
Eventually. All right. Okay, let's jump into it. You and I talk almost every day, if not every day, and we talk bullshit most of the time.
Yep.
But, now it's a serious topic, and I want us to educate the viewers more than anything.
Okay.
Because this topic is not really spoken of. I had never heard of lupus before I met Neo.
Okay.
We'll speak about Neo a bit later. And then I met you, of course. I would like you to let us know. Tell us, what is lupus?
So, in layman terms, lupus is a disease where one's immune system is hyperactive
Okay.
and it attacks itself. So, in a healthy human being, your immune system fights against diseases and infections. With lupus, the immune system cannot differentiate between good or bad, and in the long run, it attacks the good instead of the bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
sheesh. Because I remember asking Neo, and she was like, it's like having AIDS and cancer, but combined. It's actually worse than that. So I'm thinking, I've never had cancer or AIDS. I don't know how your body reacts to having such a disease, but I can only imagine having them combined and it being worse. So on a scale of 1 to 10, the pain is probably different for everyone, because I'm sure you guys don't experience it the same way.
Yeah.
But what do you go through on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so the first thing that I want to say is that no two lupus patients are the same,
Okay.
right? So we might have similar symptoms, but we don't have the same experience. So I don't only have lupus. Normally with lupus comes other related autoimmune diseases. So I have like a long list of things. And for me, a normal day, let me say a sleepless night and chronic fatigue. So all I want to do is sleep, but regardless of how much I sleep, I'm always tired. I have chronic pain, so I'm always in pain, and I take the highest dose of painkillers. So I'm on morphine daily, but the pain doesn't go away. So it's there, it's managed. Always lethargic, always just feeling sick. Yeah, that's
a lot to go through on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis. So what symptoms should people look out for if you say you think you might have lupus?
Okay.
What are the symptoms?
So normally, the symptoms that come up a lot, it's painful joints and unexplained bruising, sores in your mouth, fatigue or insomnia that's not explainable. There's something called a butterfly rash. So you'll have either discoloration or a rash that sort of looks like a butterfly on your face. So it'll show on your cheeks and a bit on your forehead. And what else? Yeah, I think those are like the basic things.
Symptoms,
Yeah, the basic symptoms. But the problem with lupus is that it mimics a lot of
Other
other
sicknesses.
medical conditions or other sicknesses, which makes it a bit hard for it to be diagnosed.
Okay.
Because I had a similar experience. I was untreated for over 10 years. They were treating certain symptoms. And then after a while, the doctor was like, I think you might have lupus. And then that's when we went on to go look into that.
And that's the, I'll say this word, shitty part, is that it mimics a lot of other illnesses that you take so long to find out what you actually have.
Yeah.
And you go so long without it being treated. What do you think needs to be done in order for it to be like also on the top with your HIVs and your cancers and your liver, whatnot, all these other diseases that, doctors usually test you for?
Okay, unfortunately, lupus is not transmittable. We can't pass it on to each other. I think that's one of the main reasons why it's not up there with your HIV AIDS, because we are predominantly black country, And lupus actually affects more black people, especially more black women, than it does any other person, any other race. So females of childbearing age from about 14, 15
Okay.
to 45.
Okay.
Black women are the ones that actually are at a higher risk of lupus. So, number one, the fact that we can't pass it on could be one of the reasons. Number two, it is something that is not explored, right? Given that we are a predominantly black country, there are certain illnesses which our people, the older generation, considered white men's illnesses. So that is another thing. And because of the prevalence of the symptoms, because it makes no sense when somebody who's not educated about lupus sees you and you're tired and you can't move and you say your body's sore. You know? And you have discoloration on your face and they're like, you know, so you can imagine when you lose your natural color and you look burnt. When somebody's not educated on these kind of things, then we run to witchcraft because we're not that knowledgeable about these conditions. And another thing is that, unfortunately, our government cannot supply, that's in their words, they cannot supply to the demand of lupus patients. So there is a one-liner, we are told that there's a one-liner in books that medical students read about.
Yeah.
There's a one-liner about lupus,
And
that's enough.
How is that enough?
Well, I mean, they say that they cannot supply.
So what does this one line say?
Probably that it's an autoimmune disease, and then that's
that.
about it. Yeah, I don't know, but the interest isn't really there, because it's something that can't be passed. I think that is the biggest issue.
But I mean, with cancer, it's not like you can't tell but I mean, it could be.
But it's affecting
genetic.
more and more black people. I think one of the things that we would have to explore is racism that exists within medicine and all of that. So it's one of the, it's one of those things.
That is hectic. I don't see, because you've had this disease for so long. 2007.
Yes.
You just didn't know.
We didn't
you
know
had
it was lupus.
Yeah, it was lupus, and you got diagnosed in 2017.
Yes.
Like you say, literally 10 years later. In that 10 years, what was happening? Like, what were you experiencing? And also, what, like with your family as well, how did they try to take care of you without even knowing what you have?
So I'm very fortunate that my mom was a nurse.
Okay.
So there's certain things that she understood better, although not everything was under her scope of learning. So I started out with horrible periods, which is something that we've picked up that a lot of ladies that get diagnosed with lupus
Go through.
face. So I had, you know how they'll say you go on your period for 3 to 7 days and then you have the 28-day cycle, and then mine was the other way around. So that 28 days, I would bleed.
No.
But then with the 7 days in between, so we'll throw in a day or two where I'm okay. And it wasn't normal bleeding. It was heavy bleeding. So I'd go through, like, always maxi pads. And at some point I'd get pads that they give out in hospitals. So they're just like
those very long
ones.
Like your maternity pads.
And at the time, I am 10, 11, 12, 13. And I'm like, I know my peers don't go through this. When we have the whole period talk, my experience is totally different from what they say. I mean, I was with girls that could just stand up and they were comfortable. When I was on my period, I would stand up and I know that blood is gonna gush out and it's not gonna stop. So eventually, in 2015, I was in matric. I had just written a winter exam on the 4th. It was an accounting paper. I remember it very clearly. And I didn't sleep home. I went to a friend's place so that they could help me with my maths before my exam. Saturday morning, I wake up and I am bleeding non-stop.
Oh my God.
Rush to the toilet, I sit down. It goes on and on.
While you're sitting?
While I'm sitting and on. An hour hits and I'm like, okay, now this is a problem.
Yeah.
I call my parents, they're all the way in Polokwane, and I'm like, okay, Mom, something is going on. I don't know what this is, but I'm worried. And she's like, okay, no, it's fine. We're on our way. Just get your uncle to take you to the hospital, and then we'll meet there. So, apart from the periods, I would have bruises, right? And I'd go to the doctor and I'd see gynecologists, and they'll be like, oh no, it happens to some girls. There's something called menorrhagia. You just bleed heavily. But don't worry, when you eventually fall pregnant, it's going to be easy to have a kid.
What?
I'm telling you. So that was the kind of thing that I was told. That painful periods, heavy periods, listen, child. When you eventually fall pregnant, my love.
They were basically telling you to have a baby in
Yeah,
order
it's
for
like,
you
no,
to read.
just gonna easy. So that is something that was always there. And I don't know what is graceful about it, but I don't think giving birth should be as painful as it is. So maybe because we're just used to pain and all of that, and motherhood being a painful experience, maybe that's where it comes from. So they just tried to make it seem like, no, don't worry, this is good. Because, you know, when everybody else cries in that labor ward, you'll be laughing, girl.
No ways. No, I don't see that. That must have been a terrible, terrible experience for you, especially being a teenager and having to bleed so much and for so long. And I'm sure your peers didn't understand what was going on with you.
They didn't. So eventually I stopped talking about it. It was I couldn't even have that conversation with my aunts because I grew up around my aunts.
Yeah.
They didn't have the same experience as I did. My mom kind of did, but obviously not to the scale at which I did. My grandmother did. But also, I don't think that we were able to talk about it. Yeah, we weren't really able to like sit down and have a full conversation about these things like we are now.
I think this is a great platform for us to have this conversation because people don't talk about lupus. People don't even know what lupus is. Like I said earlier, that I didn't even know. And I didn't know when she'd tell us, and I'm like, and then I'd Google it, and you'd see her, you know, the likes of your Tony Braxtons have it, and all these other people. And I'm like, okay, Maraki, it seems like, I had this black mentality. It seems like, you know, it's a celebrity illness.
Type of thing.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't, if it leaves you know, you always ask yourself, how did it get here? But
and
you know,
like
it's so new, lupus king. And now I get to answer that question every time people are like, no, what happened to Neo? And I'm like, it was lupus. Now I'm like, okay, at least I've got a little bit of an idea what it is. And shame, I like the fact that let's talk about M2 Foundation.
Okay.
You started the foundation solely because you wanted to educate, number one. Number two, bring awareness.
Yes.
But also
to
support. Yeah. Let's get into that.
So 2017, okay.
Is she still audible? Okay, cool.
2015, I got my first diagnosis. I was still in high school, had to go through treatment and chemo. Nothing made sense. 2016, I decided, okay, let me go back to school because I didn't have that good of a year. 2017, went to UJ. Get to UJ, and treatment is not helping. I keep on falling sick. No doctor knows what's wrong with me. So then I eventually mentioned these things. I was being treated by a hematologist then because they were treating me for the blood issue.
Okay.
And he's like, maybe you're borderline lupus. I'm like, borderline lupus? What's that? So I remember going onto Google and I'm like, what is lupus? And they were WebMed explanations or definitions. But then I didn't read that. And I saw a poem from there's a site called The Mighty. And that poem felt like something that I wrote, The writer spoke of the pain that they were in. They spoke of the fatigue that they were experiencing. They spoke of the insomnia that they were experiencing at the time. And I'm like, actually,
this is everything that I've been
going through. This is everything that I've been going through. I feel like I wrote this. Like, are you sure you went to my
in my head
writing this down? And then he's like, yeah, no, we need to find you a rheumatologist. And then he left it at that. So I was seeing a psychologist at the time. Okay. And his name was Johan. Johan was like, I have a doctor friend that's a rheumatologist and she specializes in lupus. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's like, no, let's get you an appointment, although there's a very long line, and that's because there are not enough rheumatologists in South Africa. And I got an appointment scheduled for 6 months later.
Sure.
When they did bloods. And she was like, yeah. You've got lupus.
You've had it.
You've had lupus. And at that time, my parents weren't around. I was just by myself, 20-year-old, in a doctor's room. And I was like, okay, no, that's fine. Because I had read about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's okay. And then I had to take it upon myself to then educate. Not just others, I had to start by educating myself. Because although I was in this situation, I didn't really have the tools to maneuver around it. Because what lupus did is that it alienated me. I didn't have the same experiences that my peers had. And because it took so long for me to get the correct diagnosis, what the disease was doing is that it was damaging my body at the same time, and that's when I started getting these other diagnoses because the lupus was untreated and my immune system was fighting itself without the correct medication. So I remember 2016 I had to start using a walking aid because I couldn't walk. And ever since then, I need to make sure that every time, wherever I go, there has to be a walking aid because I might just lose my ability. Mobility. Yeah, my mobility can just, So it's been very interesting, to say the least.
Your mental health must have taken a dip.
Yes.
Because I cannot imagine going through all these changes, the pain and all of these things. How were you able to stay sane if not? I don't even want to ask these questions anymore.
No, it's okay. So I was raised by parents who allowed us to express ourselves. We were allowed to just say how we felt about things. whether I felt like my mom made or took a wrong decision with the way she addressed an issue, I was allowed to bring that forward, and we spoke about it, and so it sort of made it easy. And like I said, I'm also fortunate enough that my mom was a nurse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, although it didn't make sense how something that started so small could eventually become so big. But I think because she sort of had the knowledge and knew that people do fall sick.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes people pass away, and there's certain things that can't be healed, and there's certain diseases that can only be managed. It sort of made it easy. My mental health, so when I got diagnosed, I wasn't with my parents.
Yeah.
I was in Pretoria. At the time, I stayed with my uncle, who's kind of like my brother.
Okay.
But he was spreading his wings, starting to work and everything, so he wasn't always there. And here I am, a teenager, sort of stay by myself, and every week I need to go for treatment. Remember, I was going for chemo every Thursday. And so I'd go in Thursdays, and then Fridays I wouldn't go to school. And sometimes I'd have to like take myself there. I nearly lost my mind.
Of course.
I remember there was a time where I was very suicidal, considered ending it, had a lot of medication on hand, and I was like, listen,
1 + 1 equals
no
12
one
pills.
is here. I'm alone.
Yeah.
I could easily overdose, or I can trip down the stairs and fall. Somehow mix my medication with a bit of booze, because you're told, no, you can't take this with alcohol. And I'm sure something can happen, but thank God I was a coward. I always say that. I was very scared of the moment where I would pass over, knowing that I took that decision myself. I nearly lost it. So I had a psychologist,
Okay.
and I eventually got a psychiatrist. But when I got the psychiatrist, it wasn't for my mental health. So with lupus, I got something called fibromyalgia, meaning that I have multi-skeletal pain. So all of my joints are painful, and my muscles are painful as well. So normally they use antidepressants to treat that.
Oh my gosh.
But luckily, because I already had a psychologist who knew the psychiatrist that I was being transferred to, then it was easier to deal with the whole thing.
Do you still have a psychiatrist or do you still use
I
therapy?
don't go for therapy. Sometimes I think about going, and
Why not?
I'm like, what else am I gonna say?
Do you think you're stronger now, mentally, to deal with the disease?
Do I say stronger? I'm more knowledgeable.
Okay.
I know my way around. Yeah. I'm still on antidepressants and stuff, but for the past couple of years, I think I've been doing fine. Up until, then comes in the Neo chat, up until Neo passed away. But, am I okay? I'm okay. I'm riding the waves. I'm riding the waves.
I don't want to talk about
I
this.
know.
You know, when Neo passed away, ne, I think I had already had a long list of people that I've lost. Started with my mom, then my stepmom, then I had a miscarriage, and then I lost my sister. And with all these deaths, as much as Nohulub Shoko, but I think Neo she just broke my heart, man. She just broke my heart.
Yeah, I think. Who? So, with Neo, remember the last time I saw her, we had an awareness drive from Centurion to Hartebius. And needless to say that year had been, excuse my French, the shittiest year ever. We were sick even the year before.
Yeah.
We were sick. We were in the dog. We were in the dog. Hospital has always been a second home. And I remember that year, because Neo's birthday is on the 12th, mine is on the 17th.
Yeah.
And she was like, am I really going to spend my birthday here? And I'm like, hell no. Listen,
Not happening.
if they refuse to discharge you, I'm coming to pull out those things. I know how to pull out those things.
Because
I pulled out
a few.
A few.
You had experience.
I've done it. And there's no way. There's no way. We had a lot of plans as well. There's a lot that we wanted to do. Fast forward to May. I'll never forget that day, because that was the last time I saw her. That was the last time I held her. The one thing that we always did, she'd run and I'd catch her and I'd spin her around. And no, got worse and worse and worse. And no, was quiet. I remember I'd feel so bad for texting Disebo. And I'm like, yo, here I am, I'm gonna nag and ask no guy, no Zhuang.
She went dead silent.
She just disappeared from the face of the earth. And yeah, man, I like you said, you had experienced, death before, but I don't think anything hit me that hard. It was a Monday morning. It wasn't okay. Something was wrong. It didn't make sense. The Saturday before, Neo sent a message and she's like, hi Tatsi, been in hospital, I'm on dialysis, I'm doing okay. I'm like, no, don't worry, you're gonna go home and I'm moving back. I'm gonna go with you, and we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And I told her, I'm like, no, I've been praying and everything's going to be okay. I know that it's been like a very hard year. We haven't been able to do anything that we wanted to do, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that Monday, I wasn't okay. I think I was just on my bedtime past. And then I got a text. And that text said, is it true that Neo is gone? I read it and I'm like, somebody said something wrong. There's no way. Because I just spoke to this girl 2 days ago, who had been silent
For a
since May.
Yeah.
June, she's quiet. July, towards the end of July, she texts me, and then somebody else has the audacity to come up and be like, is this true? I was like, saw the text. I love pre-reading.
You go into
Yeah,
the chat.
before I go into the chat. And I'm like, no. Threw my phone away and wanted to carry on with my day, but I couldn't. And then a call came in from one of our friends, and that's when, for the first time in a very long time, my world ended. Because my world has ended a couple of times, and I was able to rebuild and restart. But with that one, I remember I got into the shower, and the only thing that I said repeatedly was Neo Tlolane. Like, I said it over and over again, and I'm like, no, she can't have, not her. Maybe they're talking about
Someone else.
a different Neo. Maybe there's somebody in the group that uses, like in our support group, that uses the name Neo, but it can't be.
My Neo.
Come on, what? And yeah, I think with that, then I started going crazy again. But because there was just so much going on, my mental health was the least of my priorities. Yeah, my mental health was the least of my priorities. I believe that there was a lot that had to happen, and there was a lot that I had to do and focus on rather than and I'm not saying, listen, I advocate for self-care and making sure that your mental health is in check, but I don't think, even today, I still don't think that I don't think anyone could have said anything to change how I felt or to make me feel any better, because a lot of people said stuff that made me feel worse. So, yeah.
Said stuff that made you feel worse.
Yes.
Why would people do that? Stuff like what? And you must give me their names after this. Gone crazy.
Lalabona liginza le.
Umpona. Konje ki mang o.
Yizo Chester. Come on. I think the one thing that sticks to me still is when somebody very close to me said, people die every day.
How insensitive can one be?
And this person had been grieving, I think, 2-3 weeks before. And I was there. And I think when I needed them the most, that's when they said that. And I remember calling my mom. I actually remember that call. I had just come back from Togoza. It was the first day. And I was driving down the highway passing Centurion to Pretoria. And I called my mom and I cried. And I'm like, so-and-so said this. And I don't know how to process it. I don't know how to respond. I don't know what to do, because at this point I feel like my life, or part of a huge, not just a tiny part, a huge part of my heart has been ripped off. and I haven't dealt with it, and then I need to deal with somebody else saying something like this. Couldn't you have just
Kept quiet.
kept quiet, you know? And I think
Someone
also,
is chopping onions. Please stop.
I
You said,
think
was it you?
it's just
Oh my
being
gosh.
at it.
Like, I can't. Can I just... And then there's no ad break. But, like,
Now you need one.
These tears just... Yeah.
Help
me. Help me. Okay, that's how...
Siyahamba. Siya $8 sizobuya, guys.
No, there's no dollar here. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, I see that mental health question.
Yo,
Mental
I'm questioning my
health
mental
was
health right now.
mental health ever since then has been mental. Do I say mental health or mental illness?
Hey,
Has been
more
mental
like mental
illnesses.
illness, I swear.
Mental illness
Like,
has
yo.
been mental illnessing.
I swear.
I think, I actually think this is with everyone that gets sick.
Yeah.
And you are then told that what you have is chronic and is lifelong,
cure.
and there's
Yeah.
no cure. You grieve yourself, and
Ngizophila.
sometimes when it gets too much, you kind of want to imagine yourself not here, but then at the same time something stops you, and it's like, man, there's so many other people that have this. I think that is the other thing that's been keeping us going. It's just like there's somebody else who's had this for so long. Listen, I've had it since 2007. They actually think maybe I've had it longer.
Probably, yeah.
There are people that have had it for 40 years and they're still here. So, yeah, it's wrecking us.
So, with the medication that you guys take, because I remember Neo used to take a whole bunch of pills. How many do you take, and what do the medication do to you? What does it do to you?
How many do I take? Let me say, how many am I supposed to take?
Hey, so you...
Kidding. Okay, so like I said,
Yeah.
I don't only have lupus, right?
Yeah, you've got other
So
one.
we're gonna count.
Okay.
And I just got my diagnosis list updated this week. So I have lupus, I have fibromyalgia, I have ITP, I have chronic pain syndrome, I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I am insulin resistant, I have PCOS, what didn't I count? Recently I was diagnosed with lupus-induced epilepsy, and there's the 9th one that I forgot. So you can imagine.
Each one comes with its own...
Each one comes with its own thing, right? And sometimes somebody else is going to need 1 tablet and you're going to need 9. Somebody's going to need, legit like 1 tiny tablet, and you're going to have to take 40 a day of those, of the same tablet, and then there's other things. So I am on immunosuppressants. I am on something called chloroquine. It's known as a malaria tablet, but they use it a lot when it comes to autoimmune diseases.
Yeah.
During COVID, actually.
Okay.
Donald Trump spoke about it, and he's like, do you know why people in Africa aren't getting COVID? It's because they're on hydrochloroquine. And then everybody was rushing to their friend doctors and getting it prescribed, and then everybody else that actually needed it
Couldn't get it.
Yeah, I'm on a lot of antidepressants. I am on a lot of pain tablets, and I need medication to help me just maybe keep awake. I have to be on tons of supplements and whatnot. So how much I'm supposed to take? I mean, at some point I've had to take over 40 a day. Over 40 a day. Yes, it was a traumatizing experience. I think even now, although I've been drinking meds for so long, sometimes you get to a point where your mental health just like suck. Like, you know, back in the day, how you girls used to just suck it to the floor. That's what it does. You know, when you had the knees, that's what it does.
Oh my God.
And then,
yeah.
And then you're just like, do I really need all of this? I think sometimes I'm just like, gotta console them.
And do they actually help? Because I think Neo once said, I think Neo once said at some point already, some pills work, maybe they're helping with the heart, but they damage something else.
Yes, so especially the one that I'm saying, a person could take one and I take 5 or 40. There's something called prednisone. Prednisone is...
I call it the moon phase pill.
Yes, or corticosteroid. And actually, a lot of people get put on prednisone. Even during COVID, people get put on prednisone.
Even people who just don't have lupus.
People who don't have lupus get put on prednisone. You get an injury, you put on prednisone. And what it does is that it's an immunosuppressant. It'll help. Remember, with lupus, your immune system is hyperactive. So it's just going to bring that down. But then when that happens, your immune system's guard is down, you get infections. And another thing that it does is that it eats up your bone. So there are a lot of cases of people who have been put on prednisone and they've had to get like hip replacements or things along those lines, because kind of like a catch-22 situation. Yeah, so I think it's the same with most medications, because yes, you are a saving grace when it comes to this, but at the same time, let's take chemo and radiation for an example. Cancer cells or your lupus or whatever, and then you go on chemotherapy and your immune system gets suppressed, but then at the same time radiation burns and it does this, and obviously if it doesn't go directly to the cells that it needs to go to, it's going to attack something else. So with every medication, I think that's why every time you get whatever pill that's there, you'll find that there's a side effect that comes with it. Some people don't experience that, other people do. But then you can imagine how much you're going to experience, number one, being put on not just one thing, but being put on 5 or 6 or 10 different things that you're supposed to take every day for a period of time. And it can be longer than a month, longer than 2 years. I've been on prednisone since 2015.
Sheesh. And the expense? How expensive is this medication? Because I can only imagine if, for instance, now I can have medical aid. I'm a hustler. Hustlers don't have medical aid. If I were to get... No. So how expensive is the medication?
This is my application to be on I Blew It.
Sure.
Neo used to say we should
Yeah,
go
no,
there.
she was like, no, I need to be on. I blew it. No, she'd remind us. all the
This is my application to be on I Blew It. Because the amount of money, I'm 21 with
5 years experience, of course.
and I've been lucky enough to have been a part of some learnerships. Unfortunately, due to lupus and the prognosis of the disease, I couldn't finish school. I'm still trying to do that because I got cognitive impairments. Like my brain just stopped working.
Oh my gosh.
The money that I've spent, the money that my parents have spent, I am deep in debt. I don't even have a job. People call and they're like, hi, Miss Mothiba. Because I'm over 18.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have to sign documents, they say you're 18, I must write your own name, Can't write my
mom's
mother's
name.
And I'm deep in debt.
Is the government not maybe trying to subsidize you guys? Like with your, with like HIV, they get the pills for free, I assume?
No.
Is the no?
And it's not the same. Remember that a person, we're just going to be honest and call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
A person who gets treated for HIV, let's say from the point you go for your diagnosis till treatment, till your viral load goes down. The experience of somebody that goes to a public hospital and the experience of somebody that goes to a private hospital,
Not
different.
the same, of course.
Not the same. The quality of life, not the same. And it's actually amazing that we have lupus clinics and rheumatology clinics in South Africa. As much as not much is known about lupus, but there are a lot of academic hospitals that have rheumatology departments, which is amazing. But being subsidized, no, not really. The experiences as well. I deal with patients who go to private hospitals and patients that go to public hospitals, and with the state in which our country is in, you can imagine how different the experiences are.
Well, here I am challenging the government. Maningfuna niyazi ngizongitholaphi. Limfonele, ongfunayo angfonele, but this is not fair at all. It's not fair. I wanted to have a conversation with Lisa, but she's camera shy. About living with someone with lupus and the day-to-day experiences. I don't know if you want to switch on the mic. Yeah, MK, please help her.
Help me.
Help me. Help me. My dear.
I said help.
Is she audible? Let's check. Say something.
Help me.
You want me to
Help
say?
me. Say help. Help me. Can you hear her? Is she audible?
Can you hear me?
Say hi.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, Disable.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Disable, I think it's a ghost lady. I'm a ghost lady on my podcast.
And I'm camera shy. You should know me better.
I wanted us to talk about. I get. Of course, it's always about the people that go through it.
Yeah.
Themselves, but I wanted to get a different perspective from you as well.
Yeah.
Living.
Yeah.
And caring for your sister as she had lupus herself.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Sure. What's again? That was the hardest thing I think we've ever had to go through. First of all, as a family.
Yeah.
We didn't know what lupus was. And it was a learning curve from all of us. I mean, Neo taught us all she had to about the disease. We had to Google Lorona ourselves and try to find best ways to support her through her journey. It was difficult, bearing in mind that she didn't have a job also. And I mean, as Mahlatse was saying, when it came to medication, it became very difficult.
Yeah.
So, but as much as she had medical ADN herself, it became very difficult because some medical aids did not approve of some of the medicine she had to take. So it's things that I had to chip in for and try and assist her with it, try and pay all the medical bills. I mean, I was paying a medical aid with the help of my parents as well. It was difficult. I mean, on a normal day, guys.
She'd go through a lot.
I mean, she would wake up. My sister was very bubbly.
She was. Beautiful soul.
She would wake up in the morning, bubbly as ever. And then I get ready to go to work. And then as soon as I just walk into the car park, driving to the car park, I get a phone call. They said, well, you have to come back home. Neo Hasha. Because now she can't walk anymore. It was a strain, I must say. Luckily for me at work, they also understood. Sort of like I had a lot of support from my colleagues, from my bosses. But it wasn't easy for us.
Yeah.
Because 1 minute you are okay and the next minute it's a different story.
I remember and she was okay. Next thing she's vomiting.
Exactly. And you're like, what the hell? Like I'm out here having a party.
Sorry out.
Like mall trips were even a nightmare also. I remember going to the mall with her, we're going shopping, we're happy, we're going on holiday. So I'm like taking her on a shopping spree. Because my sister was
she was spoiled.
I spoiled my sister. She was like my little baby. So I remember going to the mall and then how we're going to this shop, how 2 minutes later, Mugel, now I'm like, and then what's going on here? Like, guys, no, it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. But we needed to be strong for her because she was going through a lot.
Yeah.
We were very supportive of whatever thing she went through, and I always tell families of people that are suffering from lupus as well, like, always be patient with them. The 1 minute she can do things, the next minute she can't. And we understood because she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, that's number 9.
That's number 9. Now you remember that.
That's number 9.
Yeah, that's actually how it started. Her doctor said you've got arthritis, and then as time goes on, she went to specialist, and then it's noticed she actually had lupus. So eventually, with her, it was affecting her organs as well. That's actually how we lost her through the organs. All of her organs were shutting down all at the same time. The first time it happened, I remember it was in December. We were at home, for Christmas, and we were sitting there, Mugeli, we are okay. How the next minute she can't breathe, she can't walk, she can't eat, she couldn't stomach anything she ate, it just came back. That's when I think I felt for it. Now I'm losing her completely. We took her to the hospital. It was in January, just after New Year, the 2nd of Jan. We took her to hospital, and the doctor said, sure, it's a good thing that we brought her in because all her organs shut down. All of them, the kidneys, the heart, everything
was just not working.
Failing at the same time. But she was very positive.
She would never complain.
And she came out of it, and you were like,
girl. Superwoman of note.
But eventually, she just couldn't keep up with it. I remember when she passed, her liver ruptured, actually. So that's how we lost her, and it was the hardest thing ever because I couldn't imagine my life without her. I still can't. I don't know how.
You're just doing it every day.
Just doing it, but hey.
It was tough, eh?
Let me drink.
Have a drink, sister. Have a drink. I think one of the most important things for a person who actually has lupus is to have that much support.
That's all you need, support.
Yeah, because you can have all the medication in the world or all the money in the world, but if you're an island and there's just no one around you or people to actually understand what you're going through, I don't think Neo, for instance, would have gone through lupus for so long if she didn't have the kind of support. So
And I mean, with her, I think we discovered it very late.
yeah, I think it was late
Because it went very quickly and then she was
she's gone. Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
But I mean, supporter family, guys,
yeah.
like every walk they had,
They were
from
there.
The Lupus Foundation, we all went. We
Yeah.
all supported.
Yeah,
So support is, I think, it's
Very
one major
important.
thing apart from medication they have to take.
Yeah.
Support.
support.
That's all I can plead.
Support. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank
At
you.
least gave me like 5 minutes. All right, let's talk about the lupus walk. Where is it? When is it? I know it's on the 20.
So there's one on the 20th.
Okay.
It's a fun walk that's happening called Mamelodi East. Yes, Mamelodi East. So normally what we do, we just have a normal walk around a community.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we have a few patients that come and they share their stories. Funny enough, not all lupus patients finish the walk.
I mean,
Sometimes we drive behind people. Sometimes we walk for 5 minutes and
Yeah.
we stop. But I think the best thing about it is having people. Because, I think as of late, health is wealth, and people are starting to
Active.
understand that they're starting to understand that, and they're more active. So getting people together to walk is a good thing.
Yeah.
Number one, some people don't get it. Just a little side note, I was telling people, I'm like, sometimes when we don't know much and we don't have much, we look at some things and we're like, people actually pay to go climb a mountain. Like you pay to go up a hill and you come down. What? People actually pay to go walk around.
It's like that video on TikTok. Hey, why
Why
are you running?
Who's chasing
And then
you?
she's got a glass of wine and it's only 7 a.m. Why are you running? Who's chasing you? But yeah.
Yeah, and then afterwards we just have people tell their stories. The one thing, or the one reason why we're doing it, or let me say maybe the one reason why I started telling my story and why I started educating people is the fact that I didn't have anyone else apart from my family during then. Like Disa said, support is,
Very important.
very important. But also remember that those people that are supporting you also need support. And no man is an island. I'm not going to have lupus and suffer, and then you find that my immediate family is the one that's taking care of me, but they don't have people that's
supporting
taking
them,
care of them or
yeah.
helping them out.
Yeah.
So what ringa vele.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are okay here, but
Girl.
yeah, man. And when I found out that this was more of a black man's disease rather than anything else, it then became my priority.
It became very personal.
It became very personal because, okay, yes, it wasn't with me, but with other people, the first people that I had to work with and support. We had parents that threw their kids out because they had lupus.
No ways.
And you go to church, a pastor prays, and you're still sick.
Yeah, the demon is not cast out.
The demon is not cast out, so you are the problem. I've had people tell me that I don't have enough faith. I remember there was a girl that told me, don't have enough faith. That's why I'm sick.
What?
And I'm not getting better. And
People
I'm
are
like,
evil.
I'm like, if we read the same Bible, I don't know which book it's from, but the last time I is faith as small as a mustard seed. And I think mine is bigger than a BMW. I think listen,
Your faith is
I don't want to,
brag,
beat my own drum, go brag, but I think it's bigger than a lot of things, And, yeah, man, you know what, I'm not doing it for myself.
Yeah.
I am doing it for people who can't do it for themselves. I share my story because there are people who can't share theirs. And sometimes you become the hope that they need, because having lupus is hard. Living with lupus day to day is hard. We are more fortunate now that there are people that go in remission and they don't experience symptoms. But then there's also the great lot that experience it. So when we share these stories, we do it so that we help the next person who has lupus and they don't know.
So can I just walk into a doctor's office and ask them to test for lupus if I feel like I've got the symptoms, or do I need to go to a specialist?
I'm encouraging that people do that.
Just walk into a doctor.
Because there are a lot of people that walk into doctors' rooms and they say, listen, I have joint pain, and you get treated for rheumatoid arthritis and then that's it. But at the same time, you know that you're always lethargic, you always have a sick feeling, you can't stomach food, you have bruises. And yes, the ratio of doctor-patient in our country is, doctors don't know much. I'm going to be honest with you. There are a lot of doctors that are clueless on what lupus is. There are a lot of nurses that are clueless on what lupus is. Whenever I get admitted, I need to educate
the doctor or the nurse.
Doctors, I need to educate nurses. I'm lucky that now my medical team knows about lupus. They're very knowledgeable on it. But there are people who don't know what it is. And they look at you. For example, I always have a bag that's ready. I have a suitcase that's ready to go to hospital. I know I put my medication in a certain bag. And when I get there, I need to explain. Okay, yes, you're putting me on this treatment and this treatment and this treatment. Don't forget that I have to take this and this and this and this and that. And then nurses come and they're like, oh no, the doctor has prescribed this particular painkiller and this. And I'm like, I'm not going to take this because it does this. And they're like, and unfortunately, we are at a... Okay, how do I put this?
In a nice way.
In a nice
I'd rather you put it bluntly.
Way. A lot of times, but you think you know. It happens even when you're a patient. Around them. It's like, when you know too much. And people take it as though you're looking down on them or you're being
you're trying to do their job.
You're trying to do their job, and I'm a nurse, and what do you know? And I'm like, but this is my health. This is my experience. If maybe I was doing this for a couple of months or a year, maybe. But I've been doing it for years, and I've tried out a lot of treatment. And because of the attitude that some of them have, I've argued with a lot of doctors.
With that squeaky voice of yours, I can imagine so many.
I've stopped consulting with certain doctors, and I let them know why. I had a doctor that was very racist. The same way in the US, they still, that racists believe that black people can withstand pain as compared to white people that exist in this country. A white doctor will take so long to prescribe you a stronger painkiller because
You're
black
black.
people
Strong. You're meant for this.
you're strong. Mandela went through a lot.
Oh.
27 years!
How do you compare though?
27 years! No.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that your forefathers were taken in ships and they survived, and slaves and this
And your
that.
grandparents had 12 children
And your
individually,
your
not even
grandmother-
twins.
Yes,
Your-
and she's 123 and she can still walk and and usebenza ko plasing ko kamasimo. Guys, I think it's the most
I
frustrating
got
thing
noise.
because when I wanted painkillers, that doctor thought I was crazy. She was like, "This girl.
You capping.
Honey, you need to go see a shrink.
Because you black.
Because
and
you're
you're
black and you're strong." How?
Of
You're
note.
crying about pain. No, you're going to become an addict because black people are addicts.
Oh my gosh.
That actually exists. You know? So we
I thought
do
those things only happened in the movies.
and the Salbawa lion tomtas. In movies. Kusho good to know Grammy Award winning thing that I'm in this one. Because it's bad, and that is why we need to have these awareness walks. This is why we need to this is why I believe I need to continue sharing. My story,
Talking. Being as
I was
loud as you
telling-
can.
Yeah, I was telling my doctor that I believe that this is my purpose. As much as it's been a painful experience, I feel alive when I help people, when I talk to parents of kids that have lupus, when I talk to older women that are struggling with lupus, and I have to be their hope. Yes, it's strenuous, it's
a lot
stressing
to put on your shoulders.
especially when you're somebody who is a spiritual empath and your emotions are very in tune and all of that, and being young, but it's given me a sense of purpose. My dreams died a long time ago. I wanted to be an actuarial scientist. I thought by 26 be working at a big firm with my car and a house and a child, maybe a man.
How is the child going to come if there's no man? Maybe a man.
No, actually they come, they help, and then they leave.
They come, they help, and then they leave. They exit the room.
So now at least with the new banknotes, it's the father with the children, so that they can stay. But man, just
The monopoly money.
The monopoly money has men looking after the kids. But I mean, I thought I didn't never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be here. There was a time where I wrote an exam. I think the last proper exam that I sat in before I stopped at school and did an online thing. I got into that paper. It was in the afternoon, I think at around 2. And I just sat and people were writing and I couldn't remember my name. and then after a while, because you're supposed to fill in your student number, and I'm like, oh, I have a student card
that will
help me remember stuff. And I put that in, and you know how they the first 30 minutes or the first hour you can't go out. And once they said stand up, I was like,
I'm out.
I'm out.
Deuces.
It's been great, guys.
Can't do this.
I
And you just
sat-
write your name and you
yeah,
still
and I remember I sat in my car. And I remember I parked like where nobody parks, and it was like a dodgy type of place, and there's trees, and I sat in my car, and I'm like, is this me? I was intelligent. I mean, I am intelligent, but like I was smart. I was a top student.
What's
and
going
then
on?
now there's
There's a lot going on
There's
here.
a lot going on here. Like,
Help.
me. Help me. Like,
Oh, this girl has been on this thing for hours now. She's been saying, help me.
this is, and
Yeah.
that is, I laugh about it.
Yeah.
Because that's like I'm saying, I've found a sense of hope, a sense of purpose, because this is my life.
Yeah.
Can't run away from it.
Yeah.
People will be like, aren't you the girl on a top mama? Like,
Yay.
we've never seen your graduation pictures, and you're like,
Also, it's a Mr. West, Mr. West.
everybody.
These motherfuckers, these.
And there wasn't us collecting F's, and I was like,
No, could never be me.
And sometimes everything just goes so wrong. I
Yeah.
think we spoke about it before we started talking now, that sometimes everything just goes wrong. And it's the things that you thought would never go wrong.
That actually go
never
wrong. Yeah.
in my life thought this would be my life. I had planned out my life. And I was like, I know some things are not going to happen, but now I look at everything I thought was going to happen, and none of it
Happened.
hasn't
They
happened.
say, tell God your plans and see him, watch him laugh at you. Like, already. Let me show you. Ayo, Gabriel, Mahlatse joke of the year, darling. My dear.
And my mom and I, even when we talk to people about it, we laugh.
Yeah.
And I'm always just like, is God humorous, or Badimuba humorous, or the world humorous? Like, whatever power that people believe in is very humorous. Because I love kids. I'm gonna tell you this. I love children.
I can give you my
I've
name
loved kids.
for free.
Kids just, And I remember, when was it? 2019. I was told, babes, you are running out of time. And I'm like,
Get a sperm donor. Get somebody to nut in you.
whoever that you're with should help you. And I'm like, okay. Luckily at that point, there was somebody in my life. And I'm like, dude, let's talk about this. I remember I called my mom and my dad. And I'm like, okay, guys, we need to come up with a strategy because...
Now it's a science exam. We need to
strategize. But I need to make you understand why I'm doing it. And listen, it sort of happened, but then it didn't because of all these other conditions. I had a miscarriage and everything. And then before COVID, I went to a fertility clinic, and I'm like, okay, listen, now I can design the baby of my dreams.
Blue eyes, grey hair.
Hey, wena ke batla
Orange skin,
Asian, Poma,
Chinese eyes.
Eyes suddenly ghost lady.
A Blackanese, baby.
A Blackanese, baby. And then they were like, no, elective, what, okay, fine. And then they're like, yeah, we're gonna open up. And I told my dad, I was like, dude, I need money. So what they do at the fertility clinic is that they'll tell you that we have a sperm bank that we work with. And you get like a profile. And then you look at that profile. This is for like everybody else that wants to try it
FYI.
out. And you look at this profile and you can buy a sperm, right? So you get a profile, get a book.
And you look through all these men.
But you don't see them.
Oh, but you
read.
Okay.
So they give like a basic profile, their race, their height, I think their hobbies and what they do for work.
Interests and stuff. So
yeah,
you know their
interests, so that
personalities.
you kind of have an idea on the personality.
Don't want to be having no baby with no narcissist.
And then they'll give and then they're like, if you want like international sperm.
Ooh, child, Morris Chestnut.
Because
Brown.
And then you pay more. And
Pay
then
dollars.
if you want like to know more about these men, then you pay more. I was like,
Oh, you had a baby daddy in mind.
I had a baby daddy in
Listen,
mind.
probably
I was
had blue
like,
eyes.
listen, before I got sick, I was smart. He is smart.
Yeah.
I'm giving birth to the next president.
Child.
Lupus was like,
Where?
where?
What? Why?
Hayibo. But sisi, it's not
No.
gonna happen. Not
man.
now. And then there was a doctor that told my mom, she's gonna die.
Oh my
If you let her
God.
try that, she gonna die. And I was taking prednisone. I had a moon face. I looked like I was 5 months pregnant.
Everyone is saying, Congratulations! No!
I remember
Oh,
before
guys,
this
please,
whole
I
child
know.
thing, but when the PCOS and the whole thing started, and when I started with chemo, I had to sign a form that said, like, if you want to have kids, you need to talk about this, you need to come in and chat and see, you know. And there was a lady, I was upstairs, and she's like, Sissy, why are you buying a Coke? Because the Coke is going to damage the baby in the tummy. And you know what the baby said?
Dorothy.
Do you know what the baby said?
What?
Help me. The baby said, help me. And I was so confused.
What
You know when you forget? Because, I mean, I went from a size 34.
Yeah.
No, a size 32 to a 34, 36. But the one thing that was growing was my face and my tummy. And I looked so pregnant. And you know when you are that innocent child who doesn't want to date because, boy, and then you're like, oh, sex.
Room divide.
And your mother is a nurse and you've heard about condoms. And then there was Hammer Man at some point. You understand? Like, that was me growing up. And then the next moment, somebody's like, Mwana, offing.
What is this thing called Mwana?
Like, Mwana? Which Mwana are you talking about? And then
my
you go
gosh.
through all of these things and then you get told, honey, Mwana.
Never gonna happen.
And I can sit and cry about all of these things.
Or
I'm gonna be with you idiots and we laugh about it.
because we laugh about everything.
You know? So, that's why we do these walks. There's another walk in Mafikeng on the 27th of May,
Yes.
I think.
We'll
We're
put
gonna
up the
have
posters
more.
so you guys, if you guys want to participate, whatever.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But because it's something that happens on the daily, I don't just raise awareness in May.
In May, yeah.
Because there are a lot
You're
of people.
always-
Yeah, I'm always on it, and because it has affected me so much, that's why I just don't share awareness on lupus, but also other things, chronic illnesses. We don't have a public policy when it comes to rare diseases. I don't know if you knew that. So there's only a public policy for HIV, for TB, and cancer. The rest.
When the president of the country, I hope you're watching.
Ramapoloni.
Ramapoloni.
Yes.
How's it, Ranko? There's a book I read, Maru. You remember Maru? There's a Ranko there.
Rama.
I'm not that old.
Ramaphosa,
Ramaphosa.
ke kopa le msendeleng link.
Siyamcela baba yo Rukhumbera.
Eh, o batla language ka mo
Yona
Sizulu, o batla
yona
Rukhumbera.
but
That,
yes, man,
like tea, I don't know. Did you just talk about tea? Never mind.
Yeah. So there's no public policy, but I see this whole thing blowing up.
Yeah.
I have a dream that I don't like. These other dreams have just went, but this one's gonna fight. I'm gonna fight
Yeah.
that there be a difference for people to get diagnosed on time, because lupus is not a death sentence. It's not. Lupus is a manageable disease. There are people that can go on remission. It can be controlled. You can,
Do you think Americans get better medication
Yes, they
compared
do.
to you guys?
They
Because,
do.
I mean, Toni Braxton has had it
Listen,
for so long.
there's
She's
a-
allergic to the
there's-
sun, and
no,
you need...
They do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of treatment. Unfortunately, in South Africa, number one, we don't have stats. So we are using American stats. And because American stats say that a lot of black women get lupus, then I'm going
Then-
to tell you that a lot of black women get lupus.
yeah.
But then I also look around and I see that in the support groups that I'm in,
There's a
it's
lot of men.
mostly black females that get lupus. There's not a lot of men.
Okay.
I know, and not even 5 men that I know personally, or in any other support group. I know of one,
Sure.
and I mean, apart from him, it's believed that Michael Jackson had lupus, and that Seal has lupus.
Seal, yeah, I know.
But
Seal.
other than that, so with the M2 Foundation, I want to provide stats because it's important. There's a lot of life to be lived. There's a lot of people that still have to experience life. There's a lot of kids that have lupus that are under the age of 10
Oh, man.
that have to live. It's not a death sentence, so that's why I do what I do. That's
And
why
how do people support your foundation?
I think just search the M2 Foundation for Chronic Illnesses on Instagram, on Facebook. Well, the 4 on Instagram and Facebook is the number 4.
Okay.
But just search Mahlatse Mothiba lupus, and you'll get my information any and everywhere.
So you accept
I accept
any kind of assistance?
any kind of assistance, if it's financial, if there's a need for me to go share awareness anywhere, if there's somebody that needs me to support them, my phone number is available. I get calls at any time. I'm available because I know how it feels not to have somebody
Yeah.
be
You can
there.
give them your number.
Sure.
Sure.
I am searching, guys.
I didn't say chain, guys.
Searching.
Okay, I'm searching it because
Kodwa
you
nje
guys are
ngicela
creepy.
stripper, so I can't.
Yeah, OnlyFans. You must search her as well. Only OnlyFans.
Badlala guys,
Kuyadlala. Hey, Lilona.
but yeah, man, just say Mahlatse Mothiba. Mahlatse with an E. Yeah,
Not with an
Mothiba,
I.
Not with an I, and then you'll have access to me. Yeah.
Thank you
Okay, charming.
for coming to chat and, make me cry. You were chopping onions, invisible onions. And then, one
I'm
thing about a
actually
cry,
proud,
baby.
and I'm so proud of myself.
You didn't cry. You made
I
me
didn't
cry.
cry. You know
Okay,
what?
before
your
we start
tears were
chopping,
saying?
what? Help me. On that note, we're out. Bye-bye. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Help me.
Help me. Podcast.
Help me. Help me. Help me. Help me. Abort. Abort. Help me. Abort. Help me. Help me. Help me, please. Somebody.